which may build character for him and the kids, but nonetheless is not always trivial. So this is why this specific time is a bit more problematic for parents in general.
Yeah, I would not want to do a sort of formal voting thing, but I would highly suggest that we don't crack down on organizers that pick another week than week 3 in August, and make them move the conference so that it is there, right? So some dates work better for some organizers and some venues, and if we get some variability that way, I think that's fine, right? So it should move a bit. My birthday is August 16th, right? I have spent it many times at Sigcomm. It would be nice to not do that. It was, but I also like my wife.
Hi, Colin Perkins, University of Glasgow. There was a comment earlier about increasing geographic diversity of the participants. If we survey the current participants, you are likely to end up ossifying on the current geographical distribution, because you'll pick a time that suits the majority of the current participants.
Right.
And yes, this may be an inconvenient week for childcare for North Americans. It's a great week for people in the UK. Schools haven't gone back yet.
All right, so I mean, again, I'm not sure. I mean, I was not planning on reaching a consensus. I think I wanted to at least make sure that the topic was brought up, that there was an awareness that, dates, and, this is a date that not necessarily works well for everybody, and therefore that, it's probably useful for us to think about what it is that we can do to sort of even out the pain in terms of when the conference takes place, while at the same time acknowledging, and I agree with what Lars was saying, is that we don't want to force organizer into picking a particular choice that would be bad for them. I think what we want to try to encourage is sort of greater diversity in the choice of dates, so that a particular date that is bad for certain people doesn't repeatedly occur.
And if you really care deeply, right, and you want a full control over when it is, we're looking for venues for 2020 in North America, and here's your chance to, fix that dates that work for you if you send us a good proposal.
Yeah.
Hey,
would Atlanta
it may work?
Well, sounds good to me. Okay, all right.
I know there's no formal slot for the technical steering committee, but I thought, given that you just mentioned the survey and having moved the next steps into the technical steering committee, that it would be worth saying that the technical steering committee has discussed the idea of multiple deadlines, and the decision is to wait and see what the NSDI experience turns out to be. And so, and there's some intent to gather data that might allow some form of additional insight into what it would mean if Sigcomm were to move to multiple deadlines. So just so people know that that aspect of the survey did get discussed, has gotten discussed in the technical steering committee, and that is the current plan.
Okay, thanks for that. All right, a couple of other things to make you aware of. So reproducibility, I mean, you've probably heard sort of that particular topic mentioned on a number of occasions. It's sort of risen to prominence, and I think rightfully so. There's been a number of workshops that have been organized. It deals with essentially the question of, can we sort of, if somebody has some results, can we repeat or reproduce those results, and under what conditions, as well as, are the systems that have been used to generate those results available to others. And so Olivier, which is the CCR editor, has sort of put in place an initiative that is in this general area, which is going to be aimed at evaluating artifacts, right? So that are, you know, part of what we're presenting at conferences and that are often used to generate some of the data on which, you know, results in some of our papers rest. So these are charts that Olivier sent me that basically, so this particular charts just sort of shows the number of artifacts that you know, were included in publications across our you know, different conferences. And so you can see that there's actually, you know, it's not every paper has an artifact, but you know, a solid number of papers do include artifacts. And at the same time, ACM has put in place a so-called badging system that basically allow you to evaluate and report the evaluation of those artifacts that have generated data or that are, you know, part of what a paper is all about. And there's different levels, and so if you go to the ACM site, it will actually tell you exactly, you know, what each level corresponds to. It's sort of a progression in terms of how vetted those artifacts have been and how easy they are for others to use. Now, what sort of Sigcomm, and so what Olivier is going to be doing is putting together a committee that's going to be responsible for evaluating artifacts that are from papers that are submitted to our conferences. So he's actually looking for volunteers. Now, this is going to be, you know, it's an opt-in type of model where if you have an artifact and you have a paper that has been accepted and presented at a Sigcomm conference, you can actually opt in to have your artifact evaluated by this committee. And this will then basically give rise to, after the committee's work, to the, you know, assignment potentially of one of the ACM badges as a function of, you know, the findings of what the committee is about and the availability of the artifact. The goal is to sort of